Hi, it's Carol Jonas Morrison here. I want to give you my specific recommendations for what I think you should do to be successful in this class. Now, these recommendations are based on a lot of experience, but also on scientific studies that show what's the best way for students to learn math. And this is based in how your brain learns. So to be very, very brief, to learn math, you need to space out your learning over time. So you should try to do a little bit every day. Your brain actually creates connections when it learns. And when you go to sleep every night, it washes connections that are not frequently used away. So in order to build really good learning and build really strong pathways in your brain, which represent really good learning, you need to spread that learning out over time. It does not work to cram at the last minute. Now, you might feel like it works, and there's a particularly human frailty that makes us feel like we are going to do well if we cram. Our brain also really likes familiarity. We can see that when we do these experimental tests. We can put a way to measure the stress response on people. You can see the galvanic skin response, a little bit of perspiration, a little bit of heart rate goes up. And if someone walks around in their own home, they're very comfortable, just put them in someone else's home, not really a threatening situation at all. And you see a tiny bit of a stress response. So we like familiarity. So when you cram, what you're actually doing is you're making your brain familiar with the information, but you're not sleeping overnight on it or giving it time to grow the really good connections. So your brain looks at the problem, feels like it's familiar, feels like it knows how to do it, but when you're faced with the test time, maybe you do and maybe you don't. Probably more likely that you don't. So it's very good science that you need to learn and spread out your learning over time. Now I want to suggest how you do this in particular in this class. When you're learning the content of the course, I want you to start at Chapter 1 and open the first video lecture. So go to Chapter 1 in PPCC Online and click on the first video lecture. You can click here to begin playing that lecture. You may want to take notes as you listen to this lecture. Next, you want to read the textbook carefully over that material. So make sure you read all of the examples, and after each example, there's a try it yourself problem. I want to see you do all of the try it yourself problems. Only after you've done those steps are you ready to go into my math lab or my statistics lab and start your homework. At the start of every chapter in this book, I'm going to ask you to begin your graphing calculator worksheet for that chapter. So you should be working on a graphing calculator worksheet every single week, even though you may not have one due every week. As you go through the book, you'll want to work on this worksheet. So for an example, if I click on Chapter 1 and then I click on the Pearson TI-84 Graphing Calculator chapter, that will open this document. This document refers to the technology section of the textbook, page 35 through 37. And what I would do is look in the textbook to see what my instructions are referring to. In this case, it's talking about an example that generates a list of random numbers. And I want to get my calculator and work through each example. So I want to read through this and work through all of the examples. So just as a brief demonstration, the first screenshot there shows to click math and then fraction. Now I'm not going to work through this, but you should work through each example as you work through the chapters in order and work on the worksheets all the time and submit them when they're due. This will help you to make sure that you know how to use the TI-84 graphing calculator. I don't want you to use any of the other technology that is referred to in the book. When you are taking your exams, your midterm and your final, you'll be able to use your graphing calculator to help you. So you need to be practicing it all through the course.